Hello and welcome back to this channel. So today's tutorial is going to be about how to create this retro typography in Adobe Fresco. So let's just get started. So I'm going to open Adobe Fresco. So I'm going to choose a small postcard as my artboard for this tutorial. So I'll click on custom size. I'll go to print. So in here for small postcard, I'll just click on this arrow here and say switch to portrait. So it's going to switch to portrait and we're going to use the portrait made for this illustration. Once you're done, click on this small postcard and then your artboard will be ready. Okay, so first go ahead and bring in the color palette because we're going to be using a color palette for this and I don't want you to stress out too much about colors. Go to your photos and bring in your color palette. Once it's here, click on done and now click and hold to select that color and make a mark on your artboard somewhere. So let's do that for all the colors. Once you're done, go ahead and delete this layer and hide the color palette layer. So now if you go to your palette, in recents, you'll see all the colors that we have chosen. Great. Now let's start illustrating. Let's go to the text tool and click. And in here, we're going to write some text. So the text that I've chosen is get, set, go. You can choose anything that you want. I'm going to go to the keyboard and get, set, go. Don't worry about capitalization. We're going to edit that. Click on style text. But before that, just click on this so that it gets selected and click on the text type. And I've chosen something called as Adobe Gothic Standard. So as far as I know, this comes with the default Fresco. So you don't really need any premium settings. But in case if you don't find it, you can choose any font that is a little bit thicker. For example, I'll just show you. This is a lot thicker than, for example, this one, right? And we also have to make sure it does not have any rounded edges and stuff like that. For example, here, this would still make a very good option, but it's too thin. And I don't know if there's an option to thicken this one. If not, yeah, this would not work because as you can see, it has really rounded edges. We don't want that. We want something which is really, you know, for example, this would make a very good one as well. So you could use this as well. But for this tutorial purposes, I'm going to be using Adobe Gothic Standard. So let's choose that. Go back here and make sure everything is capitalized because that's really important. And there's only one setting here. Okay. And then next option is to increase the font size. We need to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and make it tiny. Click on this and increase it as much as you can. That is as much as it fills the artboard. I think I need a little bit of space there. So I'm just going to decrease this a little. And now let's change the height of this. That is, let's adjust the gap between these two lines. So we need to do that because otherwise it doesn't look so good. Okay, I think this should be okay. This looks good. And but I think I'll increase the font size a bit. But as you see, when you increase the font size, the gap also reduces. So make sure you go ahead and increase the gap a little bit. And then let's put it somewhere here. 3, okay, let's make it center. That looks good. And then one more thing you can do is you can increase the width between each of these letters or alphabets. So what you can do is you can just click on this and then increase the width if you want. But I would recommend not increasing it too much. Just maybe a bit like this so that there's a little bit of gap, but not a lot of gap. You get me? Okay, about 31. I've set it to 31. Okay, that looks cool. Now I'm going to go ahead and double click and I want to select only certain parts because we're going to color each line a different color. So you can actually use text tool thrice and create different text boxes for each, but we're just going to use this, I guess. So style text, and this one we're going to give an orange color, which I don't see in this, but that's okay. I know what color goes in there. That's okay. And now let's select this one. This one will have bright yellow and this one will have blue. Once you're done, you can just click on any brush and then your text is ready. Okay, now it's time to add those shadows that you see. So I just want to tell you that you need to have a little bit of patience for this. So I'm assuming all of you have a great deal of patience. So let's just start. So I'm going to choose the vector brush, that is the basic round, and I'll try to put it as tiny as possible. Let me undo that. Let me just quickly check. Yes, this thin line looks perfect. So once you have that, we're going to click on ruler. And as you can see, I created a different layer below the text layer. Make sure you don't affect the text layer because you'll need to change colors later on. And it's I mean, if you're not happy with what you've created. So it's always better to have different layers. So once you have the ruler, you can always hold your 2 fingers to rotate it, and it actually gives you an angle as well. So if you want at 45-degree and it highlights it, and then you know that, okay, things are in 45-degree. So let's make everything in 45-degree for this tutorial. And the first thing that you're going to do is scroll in, go ahead and place it so that it coincides with the corner of the alphabet. So let's go ahead and choose the darker blue, not the darkest, but the darker blue. And I'm going to go ahead and just draw a line. If you notice carefully, when you're drawing the line, you'll see that it's so easy to just trace along the ruler. So you have a perfect straight line. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to the next corner here and draw a line. Okay, that looks good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the next corner here and draw a line as well. So for this, you could switch to the darker blue or continue using the same blue. It's fine. Doesn't matter so much. Let's draw a line. So make sure you go outside the artboard a little bit so that it's easy to fill in later. So I'm just going to go ahead, and there's one more corner here, and I will draw a line, but only till here. I'm not going to pull it all the way up. Go to this corner and draw, but you need to scroll out like that and do that. And now for this, I'm just going to go ahead and pull it here and draw. Okay, as you can see, I went a little above the line, so I'm just going to take my eraser tool and try to erase it off. Increase the size. Okay, that looks good. Now you can go ahead and uncheck the ruler, but you know that you tilted your ruler at 45-degree angle, so it's going to be much easier when you do that next. Okay, so what did we do? So we took each corner of the alphabet and we drew a line in a 45-degree angle. We did the same thing for this one as well. We could do one here, but it doesn't make sense because we're going to not work with the topmost layer on the side. Okay, so we'll do the same thing for all the alphabets, but before going there, I want to quickly show you how to color this thing. So let's go ahead and start off with the first angled lines that we drew. So I'm going to go ahead, and since we already have that color, I'll go to my vector brush and I'm just going to go ahead and close this loop. So let me just show you how it looks like now. So it's like this. If you use the fill tool to color this, it's not going to work. So what you have to do is you have to go ahead and join these two. So now if you go ahead and use the fill tool, it's going to color it perfectly. Let me turn this on, and that's how it looks like. So now we're going to alternate between dark blue and the darkest blue so that we get a nice shadow kind of an effect. Since this is dark blue, our next one should be darkest blue. So we'll skip that for now and go back to this area here, which is going to be dark blue. So go back to your vector brush and then click and just draw a line. If you cannot see it with the text in the background, just uncheck it so that you know what's happening. It's okay with these lines, etc. Let's go ahead and draw that. Now it's time for these darker areas. I'm going to go ahead and select the darkest blue, and I will go ahead and join these two. Go back to your brush tool. Just make sure you join like that so that it's like a filled area, and color it. And we're going to do the same thing here. But as you can see, this is still blue, so I'm going to go ahead and color that as well. And for this part, now I'll go ahead and join and color it. And obviously scroll in and color that as well. And your first alphabet is ready. So we're going to go to the next one, but we'll create a different layer, and that should be below this layer because the E alphabet goes beyond the T alphabet, behind the T alphabet. So let's go ahead and click on new layer and we'll bring it behind the T layer. Now let's go ahead and use the ruler and draw the lines for that as well. Change it to the lighter blue. uncheck the ruler, and now it looks so confusing, but it's okay, we're gonna deal with it. So I'm just gonna uncheck this because I have drawn some lines which are not completely till the end, so I want to make sure that I'm covering that. Let's go to the vector brush again, and I'm going to just close this so that it doesn't affect the rest of the artwork, or I can just draw these lines all the way out, doesn't matter, that's fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this. This is going to be a light blue, and this is going to be a light blue as well. If you get confused like what is going to be light blue, just go ahead and uncheck this, and then you can see this color has to go here as well. Okay, and let's go ahead. Okay, and this as well. And now let's go ahead and change the rest of the things. So first of all, this one has to be really dark. So if I uncheck that, you can see that this part is really dark. Oops. So let's do that here. But let's go to our darker blue and draw this. And here as well. See, it's okay here and here. And now for this one, it's going to be lighter blue again. Let's go ahead and choose that. Don't forget to close the borders. You might think that, oh, everything looks good, but that's not true. That looks good. And in here, I see that I forgot to mix the color. Okay, so your second alphabet is almost ready. Oh, wait, we forgot this part. This is going to be dark blue as well. So let's go ahead and change that. And let's draw this here. Go ahead and fill. And make sure you fill this part as well. So yeah, your second alphabet is ready as well. And now it's time for G. So let's go ahead and do the next one. I'm going to speed it up, I guess, but you know how to do that. So now it's time to create the same effect for this set of alphabets called as SET or set. And for that, you'll have to go ahead to the topmost layer where you have created this T and click on new layer. So this is because all the shadows of this alphabets are going to be on top of the get alphabets. So once you have that ready, the scheme is going to be completely similar. The T, for example, instead of this blue here, we're going to be using a little darker yellow. And then instead of this blue here, we're going to be using even further darker yellow. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So S is a little bit tricky. So we'll go back and go behind E now. And then let's do the same thing here. And you'll draw a line here where you think it coincides like that. Yeah, should be good. And then we're going to draw a bit here as well in this curve. And that should be okay. All right. Let's go ahead and patch these up. See how I'm just doing it here instead of going all the way, but you can go all the way. Make sure you go ahead and uncheck these two so that you can see what's happening. This should be light colored as well. Let's go ahead and do that. Now this and this and this is going to be dark colored. So let's do that. All the way up here. And this should be all the way up here like that. So I feel like this should have been a little wider, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so that looks fine. Let's uncheck this again, check this off again. And okay, so that looks good. Now let's go to the last one. So go on top of all of this, and let's do for O now. And for this again, we're going to use, instead of this lighter yellow, we're going to use this lighter pink. And for darker yellow, we're going to use this darker red. Okay, let's start. This would be closing this off. And then we're going to close this part off. So if you don't know what I'm doing there, I just try to close them off so that it's much easier. Like that. And let's go for the darker red. Do the same thing here and join this. Like that. And you should be able to fill it now. Yes, perfect. Let's do the same thing here as well. Please know that I'm not being extra careful. So there are these blotches and stuff like that. You can always go ahead and use your pencil tool or brush tool to fill it up. Because I'm doing this for the tutorial and I want to make it as short as possible, I'm not doing a perfectionist job as such. Okay, so let's draw it like this. Cool, now the last alphabet. Okay, let's go to this one and bring it below O. Brush tool, go ahead and join here. So if I remove that, you can see what I did just now. I just closed that loop, go to your layer and color. Okay, so your illustration is actually ready. Obviously there are a lot of mistakes, for example here and stuff like that, because I wasn't being too careful. Don't be like me, be a better person at drawing these things. And yeah, once you are ready, you don't have to worry about all these lines outside because they're gonna get cut when you try to export them. Now I like to give it a really dark background. So go to your background and click on plus and create a new layer. Go to your fill tool and let's select black and click on vector, and now it gives a black background. So one thing you should know that we used only vector brushes for all these things. So the text is the only thing that we used, which might, I don't know if it will scale or not, but generally this should be good to actually get printed. Yay. So once you have this, you can just go ahead and click on publish and export it as a PNG. In case you don't want a background because you want to print it on a t-shirt or something, you can go ahead and uncheck the background and the white image layer as well, so that you have a transparent background, and click publish and export as PNG and export, and then you can go ahead and put it on t-shirts and stuff like this. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this tutorial and I hope you liked it. I know it was mostly boring where you saw me draw, but I told you in the beginning that it requires a lot of patience because you have to draw all these lines and fill them up and blah blah etc. And you also need to be really careful while doing that because you don't want them to, you know, go beyond the line like this and stuff like that. But you can always go ahead and edit it. You can use the eraser tool and stuff like that. And yeah, use the layers. Like when you create them, make sure you're all on different layers because that makes your life much easier. So, okay, I hope you liked it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also the bell notification so that you'll get notified every time I post a new video. If you do create something, don't forget to tag me on Instagram. That is @printmesomecolor. That's the same name as this YouTube channel. And I guess I'll see you in the next video then. Bye-bye.